coming.
Perfect.
Will that stop the recording and that's in the
Hit
way.
the turn.
Got to click
So
it.
Jamie, we want to establish a quorum. Could you take the roll, please?
I would be happy to. I'll go ahead and start with Vice Chair Lee,
Present.
Commissioner Buckholz,
Present.
Commissioner Dixit,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Reilly,
Present.
Commissioner Nagao,
Present.
and Chair Cohen.
Present.
Okay, so we do have a quorum of commissioners.
Great. Thank you. So the next thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin? I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to the
To the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Jamie, are there any public comments that are on items not on the agenda today?
So I will give it just a minute, but I do not believe we have any members of the public currently in attendance at our meeting. If that changes, myself and Candace Avena will let you know, but I do not currently see any hands raised.
Thank you. Okay, items for consideration. The first item are the minutes from the last meeting. Everybody got those in their packet. Are there any comments about them? Any changes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Move.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm not sure we need that, right, Jamie? We don't need to have that again? The minutes? We
Oh.
do.
The minutes, and I did, everyone either said aye or raised their hand, correct?
Yes.
Oh, no, so I do have Commissioner Lee.
Hi, Jim.
I'm abstaining due to absence.
Okay, so we do, so just to make sure, we have Vice Chair Lee as an abstention, but we do have Commissioner Buckholz, Commissioner O'Reilly, Commissioner Dixit, Commissioner Nagao, and Chair Cohen as ayes, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you. So the minutes unanimously are approved. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, the second item is the work plan. Of course, our famous document, our important document. So we want to review the changes that we made last time. Do you want to put that up on the screen, please? The first page of it? Candace, could you do that for us?
yeah, just one moment.
Okay. Last meeting, we made some adjustments in the work plan. We added Commissioner Dixit. And I think we made a couple of other changes, but I don't remember what they were, but I just remember that. So where do you want to take it from here? What do the commissioners want to do? What do you think?
I would want to know whether there any activity I know that the recertification committee met, and the social isolation committee met. I'm sorry that Shawari was not notified, but at least Chairwoman Cohen and I talked about how to find the unfindable. But I don't know if there are any other subcommittees that have are ready to have anything to say.
There's going to be more formal reporting at the next meeting. The Communication and Information Subcommittee is going to be reporting. So I'm wondering whether we're going to do like teeny mini reports on the committees that met or Zoomed, and then a more formal one next meeting. But that's fine that we do that. I think we should keep up to date on the little stuff too. But as I mentioned in the last meeting, I think we need to do more work on defining the elements, because it's unclear to me what these exactly mean. And they have a lot on the assignment column. There's a lot of overlap. So Bill and I really noticed it when we spoke about the social isolation. It's under social participation, the second element. It's also under respect and social inclusion. So I think we need to do some more teasing out of what these really mean and what the activities are going to be. We did talk about that we need to do that. How do you want to go about doing that?
I have a listing of the WHO definitions, and I'll be happy. And Jamie, I think you would have that also, don't you?
No, that is correct. I'm happy to facilitate getting information to all of the commissioners. And I think to Chair Cohen's point, and I'll use an example from the Library Commission, but as Chair Cohen mentioned, maybe putting some specific projects, and that could be identified individually by the subcommittee members on things or elements that fit within their assignments that might make sense, and we can work on adding those. My main suggestion might be to identify a time frame by which the subcommittees can then figure out when they would need to meet and when to bring that back to the full commission, but identifying different pieces. So as an example, in the Library Commission, one of their subcommittees was on awareness. And the subcommittee themselves actually met with the county library staff and identified that they wanted to market or bring awareness to some library services that weren't being well used. So they decided to do an ad in the town crier. That was a specific project that they worked on under the umbrella of awareness. So just wanted to provide that example, but for each of the subcommittees that we have here identified in the current work plan, that could be something that each subcommittee determines what smaller projects would fall within those assignments, and then bring that back to the full commission.
So Jamie, the document that you can send us are the definitions of the elements. Is that what you're going to send us?
Yes, I'm happy to send so that it at least outlines a little bit more in detail what each of those areas would include. And then the subcommittee could interpret that into additional, basically additional smaller projects or items that they would like to work on within that framework. So do we need to set a deadline now for that? It could be a general one if that is the desire of the commission. So that my experience always tells me that when subcommittees know what they're shooting for, it will help give them the ability to kind of plan ahead. So that might be a good direction to go.
So commissioners, do you think that all of the subcommittees, everyone would be available to meet and have a report ready for September? Or do you want to do half the group in September and half in October? What do you think we should do?
I think setting it up in split, because each subcommittee is going to have enough.
And some people are on two, so
Yeah.
quite a few people are on two. So we could divide that up.
Is it clear that the actual tasks will be determined by the focus groups? The examples chosen from the definition allow focusing on the kinds of things, but the actual things that we have to do would be polling the unmet needs of the citizens, and that would determine what actual project would be fall under that subcommittee.
That's an important point to bring up. And I know that you discussed it with Dr. Pelham. Do we have a timeline for the focus groups when we would like to hold them? Did she mention anything about that, Bill?
No, because the staff, and with Jamie as the head, at least for our commission, you, Jamie, would be the one who would determine so much of this. And I guess the things that I observe would be, we need funding to engage with CAFE. CAFE would be, I believe, the people who run the focus groups, and commissioners would be there to record and take notes and present them, I guess, to both the city staff and to CAFE for further examination. Is that right, Jamie?
No, absolutely, Commissioner Buckholz. You are outlining all of those pieces. The last meeting mentioned that we anticipate funding to be available in mid-year, which will be closer towards the end of this year. And so with that, there is a little bit of time that's in between, which is why we were working to get some of the who we were going to outreach to in preparation for this particular work. But to, I guess, to this point, part of the discussion, since there is going to be a little bit of time before the focus groups happen, it might be good, and again, I guess a slightly different way to think of it, the city, both cities, the town of Los Altos Hills and the city of Los Altos, we do currently have programming going on. So I know the work plan is structured to get feedback from the focus groups that is going to inform some of that work. But because we have a little bit of time, my initial suggestion or thought might be to utilize some of this time in between to maybe do some or identify some smaller projects that could be done to maybe support current programs that are going on in as we work towards the pieces that we're going to be doing with CAFE in the next few months here, because there is going to be a little bit of time in between. So that food for thought for the commission to think about.
And sorry, and Jamie, when you say with other ongoing programs that are slated to be done, what are those ongoing programs that are slated to be done?
No, great question. And that actually, there will be some that both myself and Cherry Anderson, our adult 50+ coordinator, and then obviously Sarah Robustelli from the town of Los Altos Hills, we will absolutely share some of the additional information in our updates. So we can absolutely do that. We usually report out on what programs and different activities will be coming up in the next few months.
Would these be activities that would otherwise be fall under the definition of the work plan groups?
Some of them, yes, I would say, specifically with social participation. That is, I would say, definitely a component that we try to, and I would say, Candace, if you can scroll down just a little bit for the action plan. I would actually even say just kind of the spaces, respect, social inclusion, and even civic participation, as everyone's kind of highlighted. A lot of these tend to overlap in some of the things that they can include. So those are absolutely things that I think a lot of what staff is currently doing would kind of fall under as well.
So we would be really need staff identifying specific things, and then the subcommittees would act on those. I think that would be really good practice for when we get the money. Is it okay to talk about, are there any other sources of money that are just hanging out, itching to give us some of it?
No, absolutely. Actually, Chair Cohen made some suggestions, and so we are absolutely looking for other opportunities as well. And we will absolutely keep the commission updated if anything, if we do plan to apply or anything comes to fruition.
Thank you.
But to your point, Commissioner Buckholz, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that this would be a kind of good practice going into what the work plan, the way that it's structured, and how we would like to have it go towards age friendly. But some of these other smaller pieces, I think it would be good practice to kind of get that going so that we can be completely ready when that's ready to go.
And how certain is funding in the later part of the year?
No, if you will take my my feeling, I do have a strong feeling that that will be a focus, and we should be able to get that funding. I feel pretty strongly about that.
That's good news.
Let it be so.
If I had the power within my my ability, I would love to say that.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Jamie, when you talk about communications, there are some communications that come from the Adult 50 programs, and I see that flyer. And there are many activities, like I think something's just come in today about the bocce ball and the ice cream social and those kinds of things. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, those are absolutely examples. The spotlight, which I know the Adult 50 plus staff work quite hard and diligently to get all of that. That is a snapshot. They absolutely do quite a bit more, but that is a really good highlight of the types of activities and things that we will have coming up.
Okay, so then the question is, it's already reaching some people. Is this email then something that happens because the person has asked you to send that, or do you find their email address from a library card or from another method? How does this communication begin? I know I asked for it, but what about the seniors? Well, how many isolated seniors are getting this information? This is where I'm starting.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. And I think that's actually something that maybe the subcommittee the staff is always looking for additional ways and how else to reach out. And so I think that is something that I think the staff and the subcommittee can collaborate on, because at the moment, and most of the times, at least email wise, people have to give permission. We try not to, go unless someone has asked to receive the information. But to your point, that's not going to help us get to everyone. There's lots of different ways that information gets out. And so I think that is something that maybe the subcommittee can help make suggestions, recommendations. I know just because my experience with the library commission, that was something that I know the awareness was looking at different places to give flyers or to, put out PSAs. Those are absolutely things that I think the subcommittee can help make suggestions on.
Any other comments?
Jane,
Mhm.
when we discussed locating those who are socially isolated, or at least digitally
Mhm.
isolated, would that be something that would be relevant to this conversation?
I think we could bring it up, and it was just you and I at that meeting, but I did talk to Commissioner Dixon a day or so after we met and talked to her about it as well. And that had to do with thinking of bringing in the faith communities around our area. Of course, their boundaries are not specifically Los Altos Hills, but we could focus on temples, synagogues, churches that that are located within our area. And we think that they have a special way of finding people that might really be helpful for us. So we thought of that one idea.
Would that serve as a model then for other issues? If there is a pathway
Mhm.
that is functioning to get people who are otherwise not involved. That
That's
would
an excellent point. I think it probably covers most of the elements we're talking about.
Mhm.
How do we reach people that aren't getting information or being aware through the normal processes we are using? And I think, as you mentioned, faith communities, neighborhood associations, those are the
Cultural groups.
right, all that informal
Mhm.
process, informal pathways.
Mhm. I think it could serve several of the elements at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a pretty big topic that needs a deep dive. Jamie, would there be a way that we could get a copy of the last certification so we could read the document to see what was actually submitted and accepted? And what year, and do you know what year that happened in?
2011.
Okay, so it's 11 years ago.
back until 13. So there was a process going on from 11 to 13.
Do you think we could get a copy of that to read, Jamie? How long a document is it?
So the original application, I would have to look back at the time that it was submitted. My research showed that there was not an action plan associated with that particular application. So I can work to find out. I can get that particular information and have that available for the commission. But it for this particular one, when we were looking to recertify, we were going to include an action plan this time around. So that would distinguish this particular recertification from the original application. But I will confirm all that information and have that available for the commissioners.
Thank you very much. That would be.
This is Sarah Robustelli, liaison for the town of Los Altos Hills. And I do have some sample action plans. I did speak to Annabelle, who we've been working with about 10 years ago to get certified. And I do have some update for the hills, and I didn't know if you'd like that or if I should just work through the subcommittee.
I think we'd all be interested.
Okay. So if you're interested, I do have some sample action plans that at least Annabelle was able to send to me. And she also just kind of mentioned, let me just pull up this email, but I reconnected with her, and the cafe was the one who originally helped the town as well as the city to apply to get the age friendly. That designation is not lost. And so I want to make sure that I was under the impression, because I wasn't unable to attend the last meeting, that I wasn't sure if we had to get recertified. And from what Annabelle kind of mentioned is, an action plan is something that the World Health Organization typically then asks for from people. And the action plan is a commitment to the age-friendly designation. However, our designations have not gone away, but typically cities submit an application to show that they are continuing their efforts. This is something that typically council members put on their priority list for the year and approve. Something like this for the town of Los Altos Hills would cost roughly $20,000. And I think the Los Altos would be more expensive. I was just specifically asking for the town. But an action plan also includes focus group interviews, department head interviews, analysis, presentation to city council, writing of the document, having a professional designer to put together the entire action plan. So that it was kind of an overview that I received. And this is something that for Los Altos Hills would either need to be brought up through city council, because we have not budgeted for this. So it would either need to be, if the town of Los Altos Hills would like to be involved, either on a council initiated item, or it could be readdressed at priority setting, which is in January.
Thank you, Sarah. We did find out that the city of Los Altos and the town of Los Altos Hills have separate reports.
Yes.
And that was important information. So what you could share with us, I think would be really helpful, because it would give us quite a few ideas. Right. But we still have to do, our focus groups and get our data collected and focus specifically on our city. So Sarah, how will you get that information to us? Will you give it to Jamie and Jamie can send it on?
Disseminate it. Yes. Yes, that's what I'll plan to do.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you. So getting back to, are there any other comments, general comments about the process?
When I spoke with Annabelle,
Mm-hmm.
I asked the question, how much overlap would there be for both town and city outside of the specific unmet need from focus groups? And she seemed to think that there would be at least some overlap, so that it conceivably a package deal might be less than 40K.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. So are the commissioners ready to divvy up the month of September and October for giving formal reports? I mean, formal in quotes, from your meetings and what we can come up with after Jamie sends us some more data. Would we need about half to do? Would you be willing to do that today, to split that up now?
All the commissioners are here and kind of know how thin we are spread.
Right, and yeah, because we're, some are on 2 or 3 committees, so. Excuse me. So for example, next month,
Jane,
It's
I think
already-
Jim is trying to say something.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
Jim was trying to say something.
Jim?
I'm sorry, I was I was muted. And I didn't say what I was going to say is that why don't we create a motion around the split that you're considering and see, then we vote and basically make it a matter of record, and that way it becomes formal. And I think we have to go through the split first, figure out what it is that we want to do. Somebody can maybe start picking certain subcommittees and create a group 1 and then group 2, and then we can put it up for vote.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we create the split of the subcommittees reporting back to the full commission in the following 2 months of September and October. And okay, that's just a motion. I so move.
I would second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Oh,
point,
I'm sorry,
sorry, point of order. This isn't listed as a discussion or action item. For action, it was listed as an informational. So if you have me wrong, please correct me. Because if it's not listed as an item that we're going to be taking action on, I think it needs to be re-agendized as that. So I thought on the agenda, I read it as an informational item.
For clarification, the work plan is an item for consideration. So I think at least what the commission, my understanding is they're working at least on the work plan to determine which subcommittees will be presenting in September versus October.
Okay, I misread the agenda. Sorry. I thought I read it as an informational item. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Liang.
Okay, so do we want to have volunteers for the first month and for the second, or how do you want to do it?
Well, I think that there has to be consensus of all of the members of a subcommittee. And Shibari, you and I are on one, and
No,
I'm
we're on 2 together.
We're on 2.
okay. So that would which do we want to do?
I would like to work on respect social inclusion and social participation first, because I have 2 meetings that will happen before October, and I can discuss this with the people whom I meet and bring back information to our subcommittee.
Who else are the ones on social isolation? Or you had social
Participation is Jane.
Bill
Oh,
and
on
Bill.
both it's us 3. Social participation and respect and inclusion, social inclusion, it's us 3. Jane, you
Okay,
and I.
so it's a troika.
Yes.
They're fine.
I'm cool.
Okay, so then I can
So
I can
You saying you want to do it in September?
Yes.
Okay. Bill, is that okay with you? Bill?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Am I muted? No.
Okay, so that's actually a third one that we have without Commissioner Dixit. We have community support and healthcare services, which is D on that list that's on your agenda. So those three, there's a lot of overlap with those three, and I think that they would be good to do together in September. That would work for me. Would that work for everybody, for the subcommittees? Okay, so that's B, D, and G on your list. What about, now, we are due to have the last one on the list, which is I, communication information. That was scheduled for September for Jim and Chris. Are you both willing to do for September still? That's a few.
I'm willing to do it, but I'm not sure what Chris's position is.
I will be fine with that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. We have done significant amount of work. All we have to just brush it up and make it actionable, and we can report back to the committee, to the full commission.
Okay, so that already takes care of four.
I have,
Four of the eight. That takes care of 4 of the 8. Go
I
ahead.
have a question, though. Would we have staff with us on these meetings so that we could make sure that it's fully coordinated with them, and get input from them on what we-
Jamie, could you answer that for us?
Sure. So a couple of different things, the benefits of subcommittees, and there will absolutely be elements of, and most likely information and questions that the subcommittees will need. We can definitely try to be available for some of the meetings, but with 8 subcommittees, that is quite a bit of meeting time. And so I will say, if we can try and find a balance, obviously myself and Candace can be available, and obviously Sarah as well too. We can probably be available to answer questions if we are available, but to say that we can do all of them, that might be a little bit challenging, but we will definitely do our best to make sure that the subcommittees have what they need to make sure that they can get and fine tune what they would like to work on.
We do understand bandwidth limitations.
Yes, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah,
You're available for consultation for sure.
yeah,
Email, phone, things like that. But actually attending is going to be really difficult. Okay, so there are 4 left. Go ahead.
I think attendance, or at least partial attendance of the staff, is absolutely crucial from my point of view. This is based on the experience I've had doing this kind of work in the past. And if I'm not mistaken, for example, if you take the communication and information sharing as an example, we did a subcommittee on that about 4 or 5 years ago. I think Jamie is well aware of that. And had it not been for staff, we wouldn't have been able to put together a comprehensive plan, which in fact might still be available, that can be leveraged into the future. So Jamie, could you make a comment regarding that particular issue?
No, absolutely. So we did, and this was actually probably close to when I first started with the commission, when I first started with Los Altos. And so we did regularly meet at the time, and the senior commission was just coming back after being on hiatus for quite a while. So I know that is why quite a bit of focus was placed on getting communication and marketing to where it needed to be. But at this point, I absolutely agree. Staff does need to assist, and we can find best ways to do that to make sure that the subcommittees can do the work that they need to, obviously with the guidance and assistance by staff.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, would Cherry be a part of the staff to work with us or not?
No, absolutely. As far as the commission goes, myself, I am the staff liaison, and Candace Avena is the admin support. Cherry is absolutely one of our programming staff, but it most likely, at least to start with, would be myself and Candace first, and then it would be identifying maybe other areas that Cherry might have information to share, but let's go ahead and keep that with Candace and myself first.
May I make another comment? I feel it's so important that if we have to split this into 3 months, or perhaps even 4 months, as long as we sort of create a team that is that's very cohesive and has all the information at their fingertip or accessible to them to make the right decision and right sort of discussions, I believe that, to me, that's better than just rushing through it and having a bandwidth problem on part of the staff and not be able to get that done. So that's just one person's opinion, but there are 7 of us, so please feel free to tell me if I'm wrong.
Now, Commissioner Procedure, I think you're right on there because this has been hanging for how many years? And no sense rushing it. We need to do a thorough job with each one of these elements.
I agree, because also we're going into the holiday, you know, we're gonna be butted up against the holidays into November and December. So, and we're not gonna know about the money until that time frame. So we could slow it up in order, if that would enable the staff to help work with us a little bit more. But this is only like one aspect of it. All the data from the focus groups are all going to be incorporated in this as well.
True, absolutely.
And we don't know when they're going to happen. So to spread it out, I like that idea, Jim. I mean, it's not like or dislike, I just agree with it, basically. We could spread it out a little bit more. What do other people think?
I had a question, comment.
Mm-hmm.
Before we try to meet and figure out what action plan is going to come forth at the end of 1 month's deliberation, would we like to actually talk about these 7 or 8 subcommittees and see, we're already seeing that there's overlap. So can we merge some and make fewer subcommittees? Because if, like Jamie is saying, it's going to be hard for staff to be present for everything. Maybe if we can merge, then they'll have less places to commit time to, and so will we. Or is this something that we've already been discussed? Because I've joined late in the game. So
thank you for bringing up that point. I think the reason we have the 8 subcommittees is they match the elements of the cafe.
That's correct.
Of the age-friendly cities. That's why we have the 8. And what I was asking Jamie earlier, which we are going to get via email, is a more descriptive explanation of what are these subcommittees, because there might not be as much overlap as we're seeing here.
I see. So maybe at the end of 1 month's deliberation, when we report as a subcommittee, we might actually be just making it clearer what this group will do, and that might be enough.
Well, may I make a quick and brief response to Commissioner Shawari?
Yes.
The staff, again, this is another liaison role that they can play very well in terms of more or less coalescing the effort of multiple subcommittees. For example, if you're going down a thread that somebody else is covering, they could make sure that there's some cross-pollination of sort, if for lack of a better word, so that you don't end up replicating other people's work, but at the same time be able to leverage from it in terms of what we're coming up with that particular action. Sometimes maybe nothing. I mean, maybe some the work that one committee does applies directly to the other one, in which case we can move on to other things. I'm just saying all these things because this is based on experience, but that with the commission. But that being said, you know, I mean, I don't really know. So please feel free to respond, and please feel free to negate what I'm saying, because that's just one person's opinion.
Could you clarify your main comment? I missed part of it. I'm not really sure what the essence of what you're suggesting that we do.
Yeah, but Commissioner Dixit made a very valid point that, you know, why duplicate work? Why don't we combine subcommittees in regard to a particular topic matter that they both are addressing, and therefore create more momentum or more wood behind an arrow, shall we say? And I think that's a very valid point. Another way to do it would be to have the liaison, which would the staff be the liaison between subcommittees, and therefore try to make sure that threads are not duplicated. They're cross leveraged as opposed to duplicated. You know, in other words, when one subcommittee is addressing a particular topic, they can make sure the fruit of that effort is shared with the other subcommittee, or that other subcommittee is not, just doesn't take that topic on anymore because another subcommittee is doing it already. I don't know. I mean, these are just what ifs.
Jim, I agree with you on that. And I think there's going to be things that are going to come up and be obvious when one committee starts working in it, and they'll see that it can relate to another element. So I think you've got a very good point.
But that being said, Chris, my feeling is that if the subcommittees are minus the staff doing this work, they don't necessarily talk to each other.
Right.
So we don't really know if we don't have a staff essentially saying, no, wait a minute, here's what the work that's being done by this other subcommittee, and here's a essential result of their work, and we can take that into consideration.
I have a question about clarification, because we have one, the definition of the domain to understand, and that's one task. The other task is to engage basically problem solving.
True.
And I think that I'd rather at least know what the official job description is for each domain before I started making suggestions and solving it. And so in terms of the September report, as far as I'm concerned, I would feel that since all three of us are on the same committee or subcommittees, that we would be more looking at what are the tasks for each of the lettered domains. Mm-hmm. And then we would see what the overlap is going to be, so that addressing problem X would relate to all three.
You're completely correct on that one, Bill. Completely correct.
Kevin?
It just seems to me that we're in October, you're not going to have a finished product.
No, we won't.
These are investigations. They're kind of mining information, and it's going to be a continuous process. We won't have a finished project until, it seems to me, when we integrate what the focus groups have to say about all these domains. So the distinction, seems to me, between and those overlaps is less important now than it will be later. So I think I wouldn't. I'm not particularly troubled if we're two people or two groups that are looking at some of the same information and processes at this point in time. It's later that the distinction becomes very important.
Point well made, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I see these first meetings and the first reports as a first draft.
Yeah.
It's just our first crack at this. And it will demonstrate our understanding of the different domains or elements. So I agree with that, Kevin. So how would you like to proceed now? Do you want to, do you want to split up the committees in more than 2 months, or you don't want to do it at all? Let's hear your feelings, thoughts about this.
Jane, this is
Yes.
Chris. My initial thought here is let's see what September brings and see if it is fruitful. And if it is, then we can say, oh, this works. Or if not, then we can make a decision at that point.
So are you suggesting that the first 4 elements that we discussed, that we would have that ready for September, just the first draft? And then make the decision based on that? And then have the second for the next month, or if it's,
Or make the decision after that we see how we come through with the first 4 to see if that's a good plan. And if not, we can adjust it.
So based on that, I'm wondering whether we should do 4, if it's kind of like a test case. I mean, the 3 that are so seem to be overlapping, they seem, excuse me, the dog's gonna stop barking in a minute. They're gonna stop. We're gonna determine, based on what Jamie sends us, I hope we'll be able to tell. It's gonna tease out, I'm hoping that it's gonna tease out the lack of overlap or the inclusion of overlap. If each are mutually exclusive, then they'll stay that way. So I don't know, do you want to do you want to follow what Chris recommended, that we take a stab at those first 4? And then
Which are those 4?
the first 4 are the social participation, which is you, me, and Dixit. The second one is community support and healthcare services, which is you and I. And the third one is respect and social inclusion, which is the 3 of us again, Buckholz, Cohen, and Dixit. And then our report will be separate, 3 little reports. And then the 4th report is going to be communication and information, which is CG and Nagao. Those are the first. Those are the first for September.
That's gonna be a
Commissioners?
long conversation.
I will hopefully shorten this conversation. I opened the samples of the action plans, and each of those areas are addressed within the action plan. So they each have, the action plan, and then it says outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation as a whole. So it's within the action plan, and it addresses each one of these. So I think a combination would be more challenging unless you're talking about each area. Does that make sense? I'm happy to share one via Zoom if that would be helpful.
Yes, we're counting on you sending that along.
So, Sarah, make a point, or Chair Cohen, if I make a point, I believe the basically all the heavy lifting lies with the committees deciding how those action plans, what the action plans come through, how do we come through with those action plans. Yeah, they formulated, a certain way, but I think we need to follow up with that, and that's the work of the committee. So all that work needs to be done. So I think, in my viewpoint, the very fact that they outline it is wonderful, but I think the committees need to get on with it and more or less take on the
Mhm.
work and outline what they're going to do. So I think the four that, in my viewpoint, just while I have your attention, the four that you just described seem to me, on a second look, they're perfect for this coming month. And I would agree with the Commissioner Nagar that we just take it on and find out how it comes about, and then we can decide on the next step.
So what will be agendized? What will be the wording of the agenda?
Reporting on the board.
The 4 elements, on the 4 elements that we're covering.
Okay,
Is that everyone's understanding? Okay. Are there any other? Go
There's
ahead.
another the recertification subcommittee, which has Tony, myself, and Shivari on it. And so we probably will have to have some conversation amongst us. So that,
You know, I see that as the overarching umbrella to the whole thing. I mean, that is like the last dance.
Well, it's also
All
the
this,
first
all the elements have to be teased out. Hmm?
it's also the playlist generation. It isn't just the last dance. It's, picking the orchestra.
Nobody said,
I'm saying there's work to be done at several levels.
I think that work can start. It doesn't mean that it should be reported this coming month. That I can start this month and report the following month, right? I mean, that's what it sounds to me like.
Yeah. So flexibility in scheduling.
Thank you for your point, Bill. Thank you. Is there any other discussion about this? So we made a motion before. Did, what was, go ahead.
I have a quick
Mhm.
perhaps it's wrong to suggest, and tell me if it's wrong to suggest this way. I know that the law prevents us from actually meeting and talking together in person more than the 3 people in the subcommittee. But is there any rule that does not allow us to send our report in writing to this overarching group that is Dr. Buchholz, Tony, and myself, so that we can at least have an idea of what's happening? Or do we just have to get that idea when we meet and listen to each other's reports like this?
Jamie?
Yeah, so that gets a little bit sticky. And so I think it, which is why usually everything is channeled or funneled through the staff liaison. And so I think it probably would be best, which is kind of why each subcommittee is tasked with very specific pieces. It can come together when we discuss as a full commission, but I'll double check to make sure as far as making sure that how we share information is done appropriately.
Okay, let me just clarify why I was saying what I was saying, because like Dr. Buchholz said, that we're creating an overall umbrella for everything to be going about at the same time. But in order to create that, we need to see the picture of everything happening. And I'm unable to see that picture until we get little pieces of information. So that's the reason why I was saying. But I do understand what you mean, that everyone has to be together when that information is shared. I think Tony has his hand raised.
So I think it would be legal for a subcommittee to send Jamie a document and have Jamie broadcast that to the entire committee.
Commissioner.
Problem solved.
Very nice, very nice. So that way, even as we are going along towards the September report, we are getting the information from the other groups. And we can, when we meet, we can have that information rather than going blind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we still have the issue of a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Candace,
Candace, can you read, did you get the motion written? Can you read it back to us?
So the motion that I currently have is upon a motion by Commissioner Basigi, seconded by Commissioner Buckholz, the commission moved to create a subcommittee deadline to present projects to the senior commission. Is that's in my own words. I still have to go back to see if that's what Jim, Commissioner
You're cutting
Basigi
in
had
and
said.
out. We can't hear you well. You're
Oh,
cutting
okay.
in it.
Upon a motion by Commissioner Basigi, seconded by Commissioner Buckholz, the commission moved to create a subcommittee deadline to present projects to the senior commission.
Thank you so much. So we'd like to vote on that. We never voted on that. So all in favor, and with the second, with Buckholz, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. So we're following the plan that we decided for September, that the first 4 elements are going to be presented to the whole commission. And then we'll see how that works and send a written report to Jamie also. I think that wasn't in the motion, but that's what Shivari has recommended. So are we okay with that, everyone? Okay, now we have to do the work. Oh my gosh. Being on 3 committees, oh my gosh. Okay.
And Chair Cohen, Councilmember Lee Ing did have her hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify about the dissemination of information by subcommittee. Even though they will forward that to the staff liaison, the staff liaison is not able to just share the information with the whole commission until it becomes ready to be agendized and become public so that the public can have access to those documents. So I just want to make sure there was no misunderstanding. So if clear, thank you.
Thank you.
So that implies that if a subcommittee sent a document out, it could not get relayed back down until just before the next monthly meeting. Yes?
Well, to make it clear, the information, when it gets agendized and becomes part of the packet, that the other commissioners as well as the public will have access to those documentation at the same time.
Thank you. So we'll be on the agenda, so the public will see it before the meeting and be able to make comment.
Yeah, it doesn't just because you're sending it to the liaison, she doesn't send it out to everyone.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Okay. So are we ready? Let's move on to the next topic.
Tony's,
Are you
Tony has
ready?
a hand up.
I
Oh,
just like
sorry,
to go on
Tony.
record once again for, I hate the Brown Act. Thank you.
Beware the Brown Act.
Oh. Thank you, Tony. So are we ready to move on to staff oral reports? Okay, Jamie?
All right, so for we actually have already covered a little bit, but just a reminder on the topic for age friendly. 2 updates that I have there is that I did meet with Annabelle, and she did confirm that both the city of Los Altos and the town of Los Altos Hills, which Sarah highlighted earlier, as well as that we did apply separately. And so it would be a separate application. There are some things that could be collaborated on, but again, they would be separate. So the city of Los Altos would submit separately from the town of Los Altos Hills. And actually, Sarah and I will be meeting later on this week, just so that her and I can touch base on what the town of Los Altos Hills is envisioning, and I can share a little bit at least with where the city of Los Altos is, but just wanted to provide that continued update. As you probably saw in the packet, switching to another topic, our director, Parks and Recreation Director, Manny Hernandez, he'll actually be providing a progress update on the Grant Park CIP in September. So that will be planned, and just wanted to give the commission a heads up that that will be coming next month. In addition, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but summer is winding down. I don't know how summer has passed so quickly, but just wanted to give a really big shout out to our recreation staff. After really being on hiatus for 2 years during the pandemic, we actually were able to do our Camp Redwood Grove successfully this summer. And in addition to bringing back a lot of other, programs and events. As I mentioned last meeting, we will be having a summer concert on August 25th. You will be seeing information here very shortly. The flyer and all of that information is being finalized. So we are excited but a little bit, at least I'm shocked that summer is just about done, which means we're getting ready for our fall season. And so you will be seeing that information hit in the next few weeks. Our summer season usually starts mid-September after the Labor Day holiday, but information on classes will be available closer towards the end of this month. So just wanted to give you a heads up that you will be seeing a slightly larger postcard this fall to highlight all of that information. But with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Cherry Anderson, our Adult 50 Plus coordinator.
Thank you, Jamie. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm going to report on August because that's what we're focusing on as our end of summer programming. And then we're going to our fall program for September, October. So let me get started. On August 10th, we're going to have our first ever bocce ball party. We're going to invite everyone to come out and play some bocce ball. If you haven't played, come and learn and enjoy all the players, all the folks with some fun treats and a very, very good time. That's going to be happening August 10th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's free to the community. So if you know anyone who wants to play bocce ball on our brand new courts, come on out. And then we're going to have down at Grant Park on August 17th, the Amityville Horror speaker who came to Hillview is now going to go down to Grant Park because there has been a request to have it at both locations. So we're going to have it down at Grant Park in the multipurpose room on August 17th from 11:30 until 12:30. There will be treats for all. So tell your friends to come out, enjoy some lunch and hearing about the Amityville Horror. And also on August 18th, our movie of the month is The Greatest Showman. And that's going to be viewed at Hillview or the Los Altos Community Center from 12 o'clock until the movie is over. And then we have on August 24th, it was such a great hit down at Grant Park. Once again, we're just going to go ahead and have it up at Los Altos Community Center because the folks down at Grant Park were saying, well, we want to come see the Los Altos Community Center. We haven't seen it yet. So we're going to do a fun event there. Come out and, as we call it, chill with some wonderful ice cream and treats and some of your friends to socialize with. We just want to also make it known that Thursday game days are really happening at Los Altos Community Center. We have volunteers who are out teaching us how to play Rummy Cube, how to play Go, how to play chess. If you feel like you want to come out and just enjoy some fun table games, come on out. That happens from 12 until we close at 2 o'clock on Thursdays at Los Altos Community Center. And that's what we have so far for August, but stay tuned for September, October. We've got some great surprises. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jamie, would you like me to go now?
Sure. All right, go for it, Sarah.
All right, so great to see everyone. Hello, all commissioners. As Jamie stated, and I mentioned at the beginning, I did meet with Annabelle Pelham, the founder of Cafe. And as Jamie mentioned, I'll be meeting with her little later this week to just get on the same page and discuss age-friendly. For some of our upcoming events this month, we have a movie night at the park. This is open for all ages. It's happening this Friday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. And that is because that's when the sun will set. So you are welcome to come out. It's free to the public, a community event. We encourage you to RSVP at our website and then /movie night. The movie will be at Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. So we're looking forward to that on Friday. Again, it's at Prisma Park and free and open to everyone. A little later, we will also in August be holding a adult softball game, and it isn't officially versus the city of Los Altos versus Los Altos, but our captain has put a Los Altos team together and a Los Altos Hills. So we will continue the tradition and hope the city of Los Altos will join us again for hosting in the future. So that's exciting. And then in terms of programming, just this past week, we held a program with Santa Clara County Fire Department called Fall Prevention. And we had a good showing there. It was held in our council chambers. And last week, we also had our monthly senior walk, which is on our pathways. And we are again open to everyone. And it is held on the last Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. We encourage you to sign up so we know who's coming and what we can anticipate. And then lastly, what I do have is our activity guide will be coming out at the end of the month. We will be mailing it to all Hills residents, and then we'll be placing guides in the Los Altos Library. And sometimes I bring them down to Sherry too, so the city of Los Altos can have a few. And the chamber music or the Chamber of Commerce. So they will be there. We're happy to mail them to you as well if you're interested, and it's available electronically. So we're excited. We do have an area for senior programming, which I will share with you next month as we are just finalizing everything this month. So that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Bill?
Sarah?
Yes.
We have yet to see any pictures of your new child.
Oh, I'm happy to share. I'm sure I have something on here. Let's see if I can. Okay, let's see. And believe it or not, he's almost, can you see him?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Great.
He's a bruiser.
Oh, wow.
He's very
So
cute.
he's actually, believe it or not, at the end of this month, he's going to be a year.
Wow.
So time is definitely flying. I cannot believe it. So yeah, he's been such a joy, a labor of love, but I'm really enjoying motherhood.
Good job.
Thank
That's
you
great.
for
Thank
sharing
you
that.
for
I
sharing
love it.
that. It's wonderful.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So we're up to future agenda items. And the first one is we're going to continue that. It's the update on Grant Park by Manny Hernandez, correct? And the second one, we want to enhance that and add the other three groups. So could we fix that one for next time? So we're going to, the groups, I just do the letters: B, social participation, D, community support and healthcare services, and G, respect and social inclusion.
Could they be subgroups under age-friendly cities to continue the rationale we have for discussing them or agendizing them this time?
That's a good point, Kevin. So we're gonna have the reports, but then we want. Go ahead.
Commissioner Cohen, didn't we include I, which was the one, communication and information in that group for next month?
Yes, and you're already on it. That's why I was just saying those three are added on
Oh,
the,
okay.
on our agenda for today, page 2, the
Right.
end. Report for communication information is already on there. So we're just going to add the other 3. So there'll be 4 total reports.
Good.
Thank you for asking that because I wasn't clear. I'm sorry. So did
Nope.
you say they want to have an agenda item about discussion of this? Do we need to have that on there?
So for the reports, and I'll do just a quick clarification, it will be good to identify each of those reports as kind of separate topics so that we can have individual reports on that. And so that will be under the items for consideration.
Thank you. That's great. Are there any other agenda items that you'd like to hear next month? Sounds like a pretty full agenda. Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? I'd like to adjourn the meeting. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
meeting.
much, everyone,
Bye.
for coming.
Happy
Thank you
summer.
all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.